Hi friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new, hi, I'm Lena from Love Me and Crochet, and welcome to Fiction and Fiber Fridays, a time where we get cozy, we got our yarn out, we're crocheting, and then we just yap about the latest book I read. So today's book is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I was recommended this book by a couple of people in my circle, so I'm really excited to go ahead and talk about it because I got thoughts. But before we get started on that, let's talk about today's project. So I actually was working on this project in a previous video and it became a whip. So I am bringing this bad boy back out to work on it because I put it down to work on something else and that became a priority for me, so that's what I did. I am using the same yarn I used for the scrunchie and this headband, and it is the Red Heart Jumbo Stripes in the color Latte Stripe, and I am using my trusty old 4.5mm hook, and today's project is a granny square sock. Basic, it is like the granny square cardigan where you do this, but you don't make it as big, you just make it to a sock. So I gotta get it big enough to fit my toes, and then after a while I will sew the sides like this. I would do crochet in around here for like my tiptoes, and then I would crochet in around here to do like some ribbing. So I can't fit this size sock, so I gotta keep going, and I need to make 2 of them. So that is what I'm doing, and I really hope that this doesn't become a whip again. But I do have other like priority pieces that I do need to work on, like orders for people that I know. Sometimes you gotta get that bag. So, you know, I'm gonna try to finish this as quickly as possible. With that, if you're ready, like I'm ready, let's dive in. All right, so The Cruel Prince, what is it about? It is a fantasy story about a girl named Jude. She has a twin sister and she has an eldest sister. Her mom pretty much got married to a non-human man who is actually a very prominent figure in his world. And in that time, she fell in love with a different human who also lived in their world, and they decided to escape. The crazy thing is the mom was pregnant with the eldest sister. So overall, the man she was married to ended up finding her, and at this time Jude and her twin sister were born, and Mr. Man, eldest daughter, daddy-o, basically the parents, and was like, all right, I'm taking my child back. And they was like, you know what, these other kids aren't mine, but they are my wife's kids, so I'm gonna just take them too. And so Jude, her twin sister, and the oldest sister all go to the non-human world where they are considered royalty, but they're human. So they're like still thought of as less than, and the only thing getting them by is basically rank and status. So, well, Jude becomes pretty accustomed to this world because when everything happened, Jude and her younger sister were pretty young. So the non-human world is all that they know. And the eldest sister, who is not necessarily fully human, remembers the human world and misses it and resents her father for her family, pretty much. And with that, the eldest sister chases one dream while Jude and the twin sister chase another. They want to be accepted by this world. And basically, they do whatever it takes to get there. Jude wants honor, Jude wants power, Jude wants to be recognized as more than just another human. She wants to be seen as part of their world and receive the respect of being part of their world. And when she is a part of this world, she don't want to be just another lowly person, not a citizen, not a peasant. She wants to be big shot. She wants to be a knight. She want to be that girl on top. She not settling for less. While her twin, she just want to marry into a noble family, be known as a respectable person's wife, and just thrive. She don't need all the power and X, Y, and Z. She just want to feel safe in the world that she has been raised in. And so we are taking on the journey of these three sisters. They all living 3 different lives with 3 different goals, but Jude is our main character. And we see what she goes through and put up with as she tries to achieve this goal. And you may be wondering, okay, but the book is called The Cruel Prince. You talking about girls. Well, there is a big storyline about the next prince of the land and who becomes the king and what they do during this time. And one of the bullies that bully her as she tries to achieve this goal is the Cruel Prince. And we see how their relationship unfolds as she works to achieve her dream, as we see who becomes king and the fight to independence that she is trying to gain. Because she don't want to be only tied to this man that she calls father. She wants to be respected in her own right. And I just want to give you just that little tad bit because this story has so much going on, and it's just very interesting how the tables turn and what happens throughout and how we get to the ending that we get to. I immediately am like, I gotta read the next book. I read this one, and I think at this moment the second book is ready on my Libby, so I might actually come out with a review of the second book pretty soon. But in the beginning I was kind of like meh, but as I kept going I was like oh, you know. And yeah, so that's the summary. As far as how I got the book, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I have been recommended this book by a couple of people close to me, and so I went ahead and placed a hold on Libby, not really thinking much of it initially, because when people recommend me books, they tend to not give me much detail. So I just kind of go into a lot of these books blind, which I kind of prefer just because. Favorite character? Good question. My favorite character had to be, I feel like I often say nobody. I just feel like in a lot of these books, these people are so ridiculous. But I think I have to say my favorite character would probably be the prince. He was horrible. That prince was horrible. But when it came to everything that came about, he just did what he had to do. He was so unbothered about all this extra stuff going on. He didn't even want any power, okay? He was just trying to get by and not die. And so I think just that alone was respectable. There are some other side characters that are prominent to the rebellion that happens in the story that I also really liked. I really enjoyed their dedication and how they looked at Jude and took care of Jude. I really enjoyed them as characters too. My final thoughts on this book. First off, I had a lot of emotions. I was very agitated by choices that was happening. I feel like Jude was only seeking power, and she masked everything she was doing and to look like she was helping her people and helping those around her, when in reality her only goal was to be a knight or somebody that was respected and not looked down upon. I feel as though she, in her process, it does help people and not allow power to go to a tyrant, but she was still just as like crazy as the rest of them. And her mentor was her so-called father, and her father was just as bad as the rest of them, and she acted just like him because she was raised by him and was his protege. So in reality, who really was the bad guy? Not to mention her end goal only, I would say only benefits her, but it really benefits her because of what she gains in the end. And I just really feel like she crazy for that. And her sister ain't no better. Like I said, everyone in this story was really trying to make sure that they benefit as much as they could, and they was willing to take down anybody in the process. And anybody that feels any sympathy otherwise, I respect your opinion, but in my own thoughts, I feel like that's all they cared for. They just disguised their greed as helping others. In reality, it was nothing of that. Helping those around them only getting them bonus points, benefits, and I just want to say that that's it. I don't got nothing else to say on that. So as you read that, when you understand and comprehend what I'm talking about, yeah. So with that, I gave this story a whopping 6 out of 10. When I finished this book, the emotions I felt afterwards, the anger and frustration I felt afterwards, the betrayal, the sadness, I give this book a 6 out of 10. And you might be like, if a book making you have so many emotions, why would you give it such a rating? Well, it's because that's how I felt. It deserved a 6 out of 10. That's it. That's all. I do feel as though when you read it, my 6 out of 10 might make sense, because when I looked at other reviews, it was around the same. Like, everyone had pretty similar reviews, but I wouldn't say people have the same thoughts as me though. This book is basically about how greed gets to people and what people do with it. So if you're into something like that, I definitely recommend you read it. I also learned this book was for teenagers. I also wasn't expecting that, but you know, I am an adult, so. But a good book is a good book. I mean, I don't care who it's for. Sadly, I feel like on this project, I didn't make a lot of progress because I had to frog half of the crocheting that I did in this video because I made a mistake. But you know, that's the fun art of crochet. We make mistakes, we fix them, and we perfect it. Lesson of the day. Anyway, with that is the end of my review of The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Alright, you guys, so let me know in the comments if you read this book or if you have any other book recommendations that I should check out while I crochet my next project. If you enjoyed this cozy combo of chatting it up while completing a whip, if you will, please consider giving a like to this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing and pressing the notification bell just so that you can get notified every single time I upload. Fiction and Fiber Fridays are every single Friday, so make sure that you're locked in on Fridays, ready to go, so we can yap about the next book. I have some other projects that I'm super excited to talk about in future vids, so be on the lookout for that as well. And with that, I want to say thank you for checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.